everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be diving into the Maintenance Audits Handbook.
Yeah, this is a really great resource.
Oh, it is. It is. And I think, you hear the words Maintenance Audits Handbook and you think, oh boy, this is going to be a snoozer.
Right.
But trust us on this one. This is a good one. It is a very fascinating look at making sure that, organizations are running smoothly and effectively.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how often this comes up. Even for people who have been in this industry for a while.
Right.
They can find themselves kind of getting tangled up in this whole world of maintenance audits.
Yeah. And it is, well, the handbook even says it like right up front. It says, auditing maintenance is deceptively simple on the surface.
Yeah.
But there are layers of complexity underneath.
Absolutely. And I think one of the first things you have to do is define what a maintenance audit actually is. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Right.
You can kind of think of it as a health checkup.
Right.
But instead of your personal well-being, we're looking at the well-being of their maintenance practices as an organization.
Okay, so making sure those practices are tip-top, they're doing everything they should be doing. But why should I care? Like, I'm not out there, fixing turbines.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Efficient maintenance, it impacts every aspect of a business.
Oh, yeah.
It's their bottom line. It's their reputation. It's their safety record.
Yeah.
Remember that time that a major airline had to ground flights because of a software glitch?
Oh, yeah.
That's what can happen when maintenance is not prioritized.
Okay, yeah. Nobody wants to be that headline.
Exactly.
So a well-executed audit can prevent those PR nightmares.
Exactly.
All right.
And it's not a one-size-fits-all, approach.
Okay.
The handbook talks about internal audits, which are done by a company's own team.
Sure.
But then there's also external audits, which is bringing in an outside perspective.
Like a specialist, like a second opinion kind of thing.
Exactly. And sometimes you need that outside perspective.
Okay.
And the handbook really highlights 3 scenarios where it's absolutely crucial.
Okay.
Number 1, when you need a completely unbiased assessment. So let's say there's some kind of dispute going on or a major decision.
Right.
They need that outside perspective.
Right.
Number 2, when an internal audit uncovers something that needs a much deeper dive. So you're doing your own internal audit.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, noticing a crack in the foundation of a house.
Right.
You need somebody to come in and say, okay, how bad is this?
Right. Get the expert in.
Exactly. And then number 3.
Okay, what's number 3?
Big changes. If a company's doing something like overhauling their technology, restructuring their maintenance department,
Yeah.
an external auditor can be so invaluable in those transitions. It's like having a guide in unfamiliar territory.
Okay, so we're convinced audits are important, but what makes a good audit?
Right.
Because the handbook here, it mentions 6 key aspects that you gotta really look at. Like, it's a checklist. Like, you gotta make sure you're covering your bases.
I like to think of it as like we're trying to get a 360-degree view of how this maintenance program's working. So we're talking about understanding their current practices, analyzing their routines, looking at those all-important RAMS parameters.
RAMS parameters. Now that's where, I'm going to need you to break that down a little bit.
Right. So RAMS stands for reliability, availability, maintainability, and safety.
Okay.
And these metrics, they're really key to figuring out how well things are actually working. Think about it like this. You buy a fancy new car, right?
Okay, yeah.
Reliability tells you how often that car is going to break down on you.
Right.
Availability is how much time you're actually going to spend driving that car versus stuck in a shop.
Right.
Maintainability is how easy it is to fix when something goes wrong, which, as we know with cars today, can be very complicated.
Yeah, right.
And then, of course, safety. That's paramount. Is this thing going to protect you if you get in a crash?
Right. So RAMS is like, it's assessing the true performance of your maintenance car, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So that's 1. What else is on that checklist?
Well, we also look at work orders. How are they using work orders? How effective are those? And then there's the CMMS, which is the computerized maintenance management system. I mean, these days, that's like the central nervous system of a modern maintenance operation.
Okay, got it. So making sure they're using the tech effectively.
Right.
What's the final aspect then?
This one is often overlooked, I think, but it's absolutely crucial. It's personnel management and subcontracting.
Okay.
A well-run maintenance operation, it's only as good as the people who are actually doing the work.
Right, because even if you have the best systems in place, if you don't have a skilled team that's engaged,
Exactly.
it's not gonna it's not going to work very well.
It's about making sure everyone's on the same page, that they're trained properly, and that they're motivated to do their best work.
Yeah.
I remember this one audit. This company, they had this amazing CMMS, state of the art,
Okay.
but their technicians weren't properly trained on how to use it.
Oh, no.
They were basically back to using pen and paper.
Wow. What a waste.
Yeah.
What a waste of money and resources. Okay, so we've got our 6 pillars. We're looking at these things for a thorough audit.
Right.
But how do you measure success? Is it all about crunching the numbers, or is it, I don't know, is it more qualitative? What are we talking about?
It's a little of both, to be honest with you.
Okay.
The the handbook talks about using both quantitative and qualitative data.
Okay, so hard numbers and people's experiences.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Okay.
On the qualitative side, we'll often use surveys.
Yeah,
The
okay.
handbook specifically mentions the Likert scale.
Sure, yeah.
Strongly agree to strongly disagree. It's just a way to kind of gauge people's opinions in a standardized way.
Right, so you're getting a sense of how people are feeling about it, not just how many work orders were completed, but like, are you happy with this? Are you satisfied?
Exactly. And then on the quantitative side, that's when we really start looking at those performance indicators.
Yeah.
Things like, how much of the planned maintenance is actually being done on time?
Right.
What's the ratio of preventative maintenance to emergency repairs?
Right.
Even something like, what's the cost of maintenance per unit produced?
Right. Yeah, those numbers can tell a story.
They really do. It's
Okay.
like putting a puzzle together,
Yeah.
You need those hard data points.
Yeah.
But you also need those softer insights to kind of get the full picture.
Because it's not just, are we doing things right?
Yeah.
It's, are we doing the right things?
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
I'm curious about the audit process itself. Like, what does it look like? Because it sounds like it's a lot more than just showing up with a clipboard.
Right. It all starts with really meticulous preparation.
Okay.
The auditors, they need to know exactly what they're looking for, who they need to talk to, how are they going to collect the data.
So no surprise inspections.
Some elements of it might feel like that,
Right.
but it's all very carefully planned out beforehand.
Okay. So you show up, then what?
Well, and speaking of showing up, that's actually the next stage that the handbook highlights.
Okay.
They call it place recognition, which basically means the audit team gets their boots on the ground.
Okay.
They observe the actual work environment, and that's where they start gathering some of those really crucial details.
Right. And this is where, like, the handbook talks about, collecting things like production flow diagrams, the safety procedures, even just observing how the team interacts. It's like they're getting a feel for the company's personality.
You got it. And this is also where those interviews come in. Right. Talking directly to the people who are on the front lines, from the technicians to the managers.
Sure.
These conversations, they can be incredibly revealing.
I bet. The handbook was saying that a lot of times these interviews uncover like common themes, like, maybe there's training needs, maybe there's communication breakdowns.
Oh, absolutely.
Or just, frustration with outdated equipment or something.
You're spot on. And sometimes those uncomfortable truths, those are the most valuable.
Right.
Because they point to areas for real improvement.
So you've walked the floor, you've talked to the team, collected all the data. What happens next?
Then it's analysis time.
Okay.
Right. The audit team really digs into everything they've gathered. They're looking for patterns, trends, really trying to pull out those key insights
Right.
that are going to help the organization actually improve.
And I imagine this is where, like, their expertise really comes in.
That's
because
fair.
they're the ones that can connect the dots. See the bigger picture and say, aha, okay, this is what's going on here.
It's all about interpretation at this point, and
Yes.
all of that analysis, it culminates in that final report.
Okay.
And a good report, it doesn't just point out the problems.
Right.
It offers solutions,
Okay.
recommendations, a roadmap for improvement.
And the handbook, they really stress that an audit shouldn't be a one-time event. Like,
Right.
it's an ongoing process.
It's not a one and done.
Right.
This is something that it's about taking those findings and weaving them into the company's DNA,
Oh, okay.
creating a culture of continuous improvement.
And that's where this maturity pyramid comes in, right?
Exactly.
The handbook talks about. It's like this model
Yeah.
to show how an organization can kind of level up their maintenance game, so to speak.
Yeah. And I think it's a really useful tool. Picture a pyramid, right?
Yeah.
5 levels.
Okay.
At the base, level 1, you've got preventative maintenance, right? That's your foundation.
Mhm.
It's all about Sticking to those routine tasks,
Ugh.
keeping things from breaking down in the first place.
Right, and they make the point that even at that basic level, you
Yeah.
can still get like valuable insights, like they were saying, like, a high WOI13, which is a measurement of overtime spent on maintenance, that could tell you, hey, maybe you're struggling with resource allocation.
Exactly.
Like you're not,
Scheduling things appropriately.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then we climb up to level 2.
Okay.
And that's when you're really starting to build a really robust CMMS system,
Okay.
a computerized maintenance management system. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And the indicator here is CMMSI4,
Okay.
which is the percentage of machines that are registered in that system. And of course, the higher that percentage,
Is it better?
the better. It means they're really on top of their data.
Okay, so level 2 is get organized, use technology to your advantage.
You got it.
What about level 3?
Level 3 is where things start to get exciting because now we're talking condition-based maintenance,
Okay.
or CBM.
All right.
And this is, instead of just blindly following a schedule, now you're using data. You're using sensors, diagnostics, to tell you when maintenance is actually needed.
So it's like going from a generic checkup to like a targeted treatment plan, right?
There you go. That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's efficiency. It's about reducing downtime,
Right.
extending the life of your equipment.
Yeah.
And then we go up to level 4, and this is where we introduce TPM, total productive maintenance.
Yeah.
And this is where we're really starting to bring the whole team on board.
Okay.
This is operators, maintenance technicians. Everyone is now responsible.
It's a team effort
Exactly.
for keeping things running.
It's creating that culture of ownership,
Right.
where everybody's invested in the success.
And then the top of the pyramid, we've got level 5, and that's continuous
That's
improvement.
a holy grail,
Yeah.
right? It's the never-ending quest
That's it. That's the end goal.
to optimize and refine.
You're never really done.
You're never done.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the pyramid, is that it gives you that roadmap.
It's like, it's like a GPS
There you go.
for your maintenance journey. I like that.
I like that. I like that.
But, we've got to wrap up here, but I'm drawn back to something that you said earlier. It's not just about the systems in place.
Yeah.
It's about the people.
The human factor is huge, yeah.
Yeah, and the handbook, they talk about creating a positive and productive maintenance environment
Absolutely.
where everyone feels valued and empowered.
It's so important.
Because at the end of the day, even the most sophisticated technology can't replace a skilled and motivated team, really.
100%.
So as you're thinking about all this that we've talked about today, how can you, in your own role, contribute to a more positive and productive maintenance environment? That's something to think about, no matter where you sit in an organization. So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of maintenance audits. It's been fun.